we met each other 20 years ago,
Yeah.
plus 20
Yeah.
plus years
Yeah.
ago, in Russia of all places. Yeah, and there's lots of stories. Most of them have to be censored. So if you find us at the bar later on tonight, you might hear some of them sort of trickle out. But it's so nice to be with you here this evening. And congratulations on the new novel, which I adored. And this is what I said about it. So I said every time Amy Bloom writes a book, another small miracle occurs. I'll be right here. She explores notions of pride, kindness, strangeness, fearlessness, longing, belonging, and love. Written with charm and grace, this is a book about the nation of family. And of course, it's sharp and direct and funny and wild. What else do we expect from a writer who wrings out our tired hearts and updates our souls? That's my review. So tell us about the novel, where it came from, and some of the accent.
Originally, is this all right? Can everybody hear? Is this okay? He says, hold it closer.
Yeah.
I used to say when my dad was alive, he would sit way over there. And I would say, oh, can everybody hear me? And he'd always go, no, you're mumbling. If anybody wants to play the part of Murray Bloom, still available. This was supposed to be an entirely historical novel, and it was supposed to be entirely set in occupied Paris during World War II. And I loved starting there, and I loved getting to write about Colette, who was sort of one of my favorite literary monsters. I loved her work growing up. I mean, Cherie and The Last of Cherie are just wonderful short novels, and then all of her terribleness. And I mean, this is a woman who, when she had her friends to her fancy house in the south of France and made a beautiful lunch, she also had made homemade eclairs and filled them, with custard, I guess, as one does. And people were late, and she was pissed. So she took the custard out of the eclairs and put them back on the platter. That's sort of terrible, but irresistible. The funny thing about her is that she was in the habit of Parisians like herself at the time, sort of mildly, politely anti-Semitic. And then life sent her third husband, with whom she fell madly in love, and he was Jewish. And she had to turn her life upside down and hide him for the entire war. And she even wrote a terrible novel in hopes of appeasing the Germans so that she could get Maurice to be spared, which in the end he was, but mostly because she hid him, not because they showed her any favor.
And he almost got taken away. He does at one stage get
Right.
taken away.
He gets taken away, he comes back, they hide him in the south of France. She begs him to convert to Catholicism. She brings every famous French Catholic writer in her house. And in the end, he says, they will just have to shoot me. He cannot. And he doesn't. And they were madly in love until the end of their life. So we begin with Colette. And then I found myself wanting to bring Ghazala, who is the protagonist, to America. I didn't want to end with the occupation.
So Ghazala, for those who haven't read it, Ghazala is a young lady who has her own special background, and she comes into this world, and she's the one who actually was the centrifugal force of
Yes.
this part.
And somehow, I guess what happened is that I moved from Colette and a historical novel in which she was central to this young woman coming to this new world and making her way.
What was it about her that intrigued you so much?
She reminds me of my great aunt. This is really what it is. My great aunt was formidable, and fierce and relentless and unyielding and determined and also very funny and very warm, at least to me. I think probably terrifying to most of the people who met her. She is the only person who ever scared my big sister, who was in herself. I mean, I am like Rebecca, a Sunnybrook Farm. And my aunt had us both beat hands down. And I loved that determination to live, to be the person that she was without apology. And that sort of led to the creation of Ghazala, who we meet at first when she's about 2 years old in the courtyard of a crappy apartment building in Paris. And then stay with her as she comes to America.
And her ethnic background is.
She is, these are all very good questions. The ethnic background. So she is Algerian. She is Algerian by ethnicity. She is born in France. Her mother dies before she really gets a chance to know her mother at all. And so she is raised sort of in a non-religious family in which she thinks of herself as sort of more Christian than anything else because there's nothing Jewish in her life. And so although she is very frightened, as people are during the German occupation, she is worried about herself because of her politics. She is not worried that she is going to be plucked out of the crowd, partially because the Vichy government and the Germans were interested in French Jews. They were not that interested in Algerians.
And in the long line of literary maids, including, say, Lily from James Joyce and so on, she's spicy.
It's spicy, a word I would literally never use. She's determined, and she is, I would not say she is fearless, because as my great aunt said to me, if you are in danger and you are not afraid, you are a fool. She said, what I want is to be afraid and move forward anyway. And I